Welcome to Born on the Bayou Sports, a Houston sports show made for Houstonians by Houstonians. Join Tim Costello and Scott Barzilla every week as they break down the latest in Houston Astros, Rockets, and Texans news. Tim's a former minor league broadcaster, and Scott has written 2 books on the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah, if Javier could get it figured out, it would make things a lot easier because he was that guy everybody was counting on this year to be a Cy Young candidate, take that big step forward and help anchor this rotation with Fromber.
Since he's come to Houston, you can look at the development of guys like Carlos Correa defensively, Jeremy Pena defensively. I mean, you can Alex Bregman's, certainly I think a better than average third baseman.
And now you're putting teams in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9. Now here comes Will Anderson. Pin back your ears, let's go. So if you're Bayou born and bred, or just like spending time in the H, sit down, relax, and stay Houston strong. Welcome all my friends to the podcast that shows up way more consistently than the Houston Astros offense. I'm Tim Costello. He's Scott Barzilla. We are barely hanging on.
Yeah, we are a day late, Tim, but hopefully not $1 short.
Now, the full allotment will be there, unlike the Houston Astros offense, and we'll get into that later on. But, Scott, it kind of leads me to my opening question. What was your favorite collapse for a team down the stretch that you can remember in your recent memory?
Oh, man, that's a good one. You know what? Actually, if I'm going to go with the one I can remember the most vividly actually was from not this past season, but the season before last, where the Philadelphia Eagles go from first place in the NFC East to out in the first round of the playoffs. I don't know how Nick Sirianni survived that one. But baseball, I'm trying to think in baseball. I have to think that the answer has to be the Mets. Just pick any particular year.
But I like the one where the Braves went and traded for Mark Teixeira and then did not end up making the playoffs. They had like a fan who came out and made like a famous YouTube video for a song called "The Braves Got Mark Teixeira." It went viral. It was like a whole thing, and then they still ended up not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the one that I think I remember was, I can't remember what it is. Fred McGriff was involved, but I think there was that recent year where the Giants won 105 games, and somehow, I can't remember who it was that didn't make the playoffs because we didn't have the expanded wild card.
Yeah,
that's
that
pretty.
Was a tough one.
Yeah, I have to say the Mets. Just pick a year.
Well, speaking of collapses, the title for this segment is "This is not looking good." The Astros dropped 2 of 3 this series to the Blue Jays. Legitimately could have won 2 of 3 if you close out game 1. But with everything on the line tonight or today, in a tight divisional race, you have Altuve playing second base, which in the first inning led to potentially a dropped fly ball and a run scoring. You've got Trammell playing left field, and you've got Dubon in center field. We've talked before, Urias is probably the guy who should be out there playing every day. He's swinging the bat the best in a game that you have to win today. He's not playing. We've talked for 2 months wondering where Jake Myers is, missing that bat. In a must-win, game to win a series, Jake Myers is out of the lineup and Taylor Trammell is in. And again, what are we doing? What are we doing out there? We have Sanchez in left. Right. That's fine. Why is Cam Smith not playing today? Why are we? It just seems to me, Scott, like some of these lineup decisions and giving days off right now. That's not a luxury the Astros have.
I'm going to go one by one on that one. I don't think Cam Smith is playable right now.
That's fair.
Now against lefties, sure. I mean, if your choice is between him and Sanchez against a lefty starter, sure. Cam Smith at least has a fighting chance. Sanchez's numbers are, absolutely god awful against lefties. I think the problem is, and we saw this the other night in the first game of the series. You can't tell me that play in the 10th inning that Dubon and Urias doesn't make it, that Altuve, wasn't able to get it to first in time. You can't tell me that Dubon and Urias don't make that play. I mean, you agree?
I agree.
So that turns into now we have 2 outs. Does Kimbrel get out of the inning? Well, based on what happened next, you get a Kimbrel ground ball. To me, I can't hold Craig Kimbrel liable at all for what happened in that inning. He got 2 ground balls and a strikeout. I mean, what do you want from your relief pitcher in that situation? So I don't know if Altuve is playable in the field right now at this point in his career.
I'm with you.
And that's going to create issues because obviously, do you want Jordan being an everyday left fielder? I'm okay with it. I think if you want to toggle them, maybe give Jordan the occasional day off in the field when you have a ground ball pitcher and put Altuve in left. But I just don't see Altuve, making it as an everyday second baseman anymore. I just don't.
No, he is costing the team runs defensively at a pretty high clip right now, right? Like I feel like every time that Altuve is starting at second base, there is a play a game at least that is extremely questionable. And on top of it, Altuve's offensive numbers are better when he's a DH. He is the only player on the Astros who has better numbers as a DH than when he plays the field. So between those things, right, like you've got 2 better defensive options, and you've got a guy who hits better when he DHs versus Jordan who hits better when he plays left field. What are we doing?
Yeah, I hadn't really looked at the numbers for Altuve as a DH, so I'll take your word for it. But I think in general, I don't know. The old, the adage, Jake Myers has had how much time off?
Exactly.
Does he really need a breather at this point? Now playing, if you want to DH Jordan, who do you want in left? I don't know that Trammell is necessarily a bad option in left. But the
question is, did we put our best lineup in a game that I feel like is a must-win game? Did we put our best lineup out there today? And the answer is no.
No, and Christian Javier deserves better. He gives up 4 earned runs, and you can't tell me that he really earned those runs in the first inning. I mean,
the pop-up should have been caught without a doubt. And then what? You're out of there with 1 run?
Yeah, and he finished strong. I mean, I really like, I know in a text you mentioned, the problems with Lance. Again, this is at least the second time where Lance goes out, throws a clean inning, and then comes out for a second inning, and it all goes to shit. So to me, if Lance McCullers is a pitcher on this team next year, he's a 1-inning reliever. That's who he is. And if you're going to turn around and sit there and say he can't pitch on back-to-back days, then
what are we doing with a 1-inning reliever who can't pitch on back-to-back days?
Yeah, that's the problem. But if you want to sit there and say, hey, he can pitch in high leverage, maybe, okay, if you feel confident enough to give him that opportunity. But I don't. I see you shaking your head. You don't. So, and I think, this series, what's frustrating about this series, of course, we have the whole punch in the junk award, coming later on. I mean, how do you sit there, your starting pitcher goes out there and pitches, last night, 7 scoreless innings. He doesn't get the win. So he definitely gets a punch of the junk. And then in your opening game day of the series, your starter goes out there, gives up 1 run. And what's the result for that guy? I mean, it's just unbelievable at this point. And when you combine it, I think they were a combined 3 for. Did we have any runners in scoring position today? We have 1.
Maybe 1, not many. It was
So
a complete game shutout by Gossman.
You're a combined. If you give me 1, you're a combined 3 for 20 in the series with runners in scoring position. That's and you can't convince me. Everybody's going to sit there and blame Brian Abreu for for the first game, and that's fine. I mean, I would go 90-10. I think it's 90% his fault. But you don't have any business scoring only 3 runs when you have 15, 16 base runners. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, the Astros have done a phenomenal job of putting runners on base all year. Like all year, they've done what they needed to do to get on base. It's been the batting average with runners in scoring position, right? It is terrible. It has been terrible all year. We've talked about it since fucking April. You and I have been on this podcast harping on what this team does with runners in scoring position. The best teams in the league hit better with runners in scoring position than with the bases empty. They find a way to zero in those clutch moments. The Astros team that won World Series found ways to zero in those clutch moments. The lack of swagger, the way that this team is carrying themselves right now is scary. There's no juice, right? Like I don't know if you remember when the Texans were on Hard Knocks, right? And there was an episode where one of the players goes up to Bill O'Brien and he tells him, like, Coach, where's the music? Where's the juice? I need some juice. And O'Brien's response was like, I need you to bring the fucking juice, right? Like, I can't bring the juice for you. You need to bring the fucking juice. There's no juice in this locker room, right? Like, I am shocked at what has happened to this team post-trade deadline, because you and I both sat on this show and commended Dana Brown on the moves that he made. The one caveat being, hey, we could use another bullpen arm, but okay. Well, that reared its ugly head. The offense has been deplorable, and starting pitchers who you thought were coming back to help you, which was the plan, have not helped, right? Like Javier's had one really good game. Luis Garcia made 1.1 start. Lance McCullers has been a shell of himself. It's just nothing has gone to plan for this team.
Yeah, and what's frustrating about this, when you look at the trade deadline, I looked up his numbers today. Carlos Correa has an 800 OPS since
been great,
and Ramon Urias has an OPS near 800. And Jesus Sanchez has been about the player he was in Miami. I mean, roughly. So it's not those guys.
Nope.
You can't sit there and say those guys have underperformed. You're looking at the rest of the roster, and then of course you get the same bit of luck. You get Caleb Ward goes down with an injury. Who, I'm sorry, Caleb Ward's not, certainly
shouldn't
not
be that crucial.
Rolaids relief face of the year, but he's just another guy who we're able to go to most of the time. He's out. Then you get Spencer Arrighetti. All of a sudden, he feels the discomfort. Then you get Luis Garcia, where he gets feels the discomfort, and his velo was down in the last start. So, at what point do you just sit there and go, it's just too much? There's just too many injuries. And so that's the one pass I would give this team on juice, is that it has to be demoralizing to just have this avalanche that you feel like every time you're starting to get some momentum. You got Javier back. You got Arrighetti and Garcia back, and they had 3 good outings in a row, each of them, bam, bam, bam. And then all of a sudden they both, 2 of the 3 go down. I mean, that has to be, and then you're going with the Colton Gordons of the world. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
All the while, Fromber's having a mental fucking breakdown. All while Altuve and I love Jose Altuve. I love that man as a baseball player, what he's done for the city. This is one of his worst seasons as a professional baseball player, right? Like 2020 was really bad, but this year's not been good. The power has been okay for Jose, but outside of that, his defense has really gotten bad this year. Like we talked about the numbers in years past. Maybe I just wasn't aware of it. Maybe I didn't pay attention to it, and I paid attention to it more this year. But it's unbelievably apparent. Like as you said, he's unplayable in the field, at least in the infield. The chase rate is back to a really, really high place. The strikeout rate is increasing at a little bit of a high level for Altuve, and that goes to the chase rate. Like this is probably his worst season I can remember in recent memory.
There are 2 seasons in which he's had 100 or more strikeouts, and those are the last 2 years. He had 119 last year. This year he has 100 on the nose with about 14, 15 games left? So, I mean, he's pretty close. I mean, he's got a little bit better contact rate than last year, but it's not good compared to the rest of his career.
The chase rate is up to where it was near his rookie year, right?
And that base running in the 10th inning reminded me of Chick Gandil and 8 Men Out.
He's just like scooting along. He's like
looking around like, what am I supposed to do? And the guys in the booth are like, what the hell was that?
I mean, even like Blum and Callis during that game were just like, what is Altuve doing? Like, why is he not going hard? He just assumed there wouldn't be a play, which is the opposite of what made Jose Altuve, right? Like, this was the guy who ran everything out. This was the guy who hustled at his ass. This was the guy who was told no over and over and over again and still found a way. And to have that go down like that was frustrating.
Yeah, and I almost had to think that maybe he just thought, okay, they're going to get me. So, go ahead, accept my fate. But
if he runs hard off the break, they don't get him.
Yeah, and there are guys like that I accept. Like I heard this conversation on the radio. I think it was either today or yesterday that I accept a certain amount of lollygagging out of Yordan, just because my expectation of you is that I want you to find some way to get 500 at bats in the season, just some way to do it. I mean, I looked at his numbers today. He's got 4 seasons in a row with 30 or more home runs coming into this year. And I don't think he's had but maybe 1 full season in that 4. I mean, if he could find some way to play 150 games, he'd be a 40 home run plus, a year guy with the on-base percentage, with, the 300 batting average, with all that thrown in. This year, I have a feeling that he'll wind up with the 300 batting average. He'll wind up with the same OPP he's always had. And, probably the slugging percentage, if he continues on like the way he has, will be there. He's that same guy. He has to get into the lineup. And so if he lollygags an occasional grounder, okay, I get it.
I feel the same way about Correa, right? Like Correa is a guy that when healthy is unbelievable. Does he need to beat out every slow hit ground ball? No. Or hard hit ground ball? No. But once you're on base, I expect a different level, right? Like that's where I think, I don't know. It was an awareness play. And to me, this year specifically, Altuve's base running's gotten really bad too. Like we can't just stop. Like again, I love Jose Altuve. I think his numbers should go on the rafters. He is quite possibly the greatest Astro who has ever put on a uniform. But he runs into so many outs. And he takes runs off the board by just not running the bases well.
It's a stylistic thing. I think a lot of it is it's perception versus reality. If you look at the aggregate data, he's not a bad base runner. If you look, objectively, if you look at the data, but how many, base running kills, how many bad base running kills? It's not even that, oh shit, I got caught stealing. It was an eyelash play at second base. Damn it. These things happen. it's just, mind mistakes.
Gaffes.
And when they occur in a game, this is the 10th inning. You erase that runner at third base, you're not scoring, and they didn't score. And this is 4 consecutive innings in the extra innings that they have failed to score. And so I don't know. I mean, this team situationally is just not good.
It's bad. It's not good. It is bad. This team, I said it all season long, does not hit situationally. If you ask, like, they actually in that situation, they did do it offensively. You're asked to hit the ball on the ground to the right side, and you did that. There's no way in hell you should be thrown out at third base. Was it a perfect play by an MVP level player in Guerrero? Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, you're Jose fucking Altuve. You don't get beat on that play. You don't, because you run hard the whole way and you're there. And it's little instances like this in a tight playoff race where, okay, you drop a game Monday night that you should have won because ninth inning Brian Abreu is apparently a thing, and in 5 of his 9 outings as the ninth inning guy, he's given up a run this year. It's basically most of his earned runs this season has come when we've asked him to pitch in the ninth inning. Yeah. It is insane that the fact that, like, this guy's mental switch goes off when he gets bumped up 1 extra inning, and all of a sudden he's fucking Octavio Dotel and can't get anybody out.
And then you look
lights
at
on Lidge.
Yeah, and then you look at the other, I'll just say, mind fuck, Framber Valdez, who didn't pitch in the Toronto series. Thank God, because that would have probably been a disaster. But the last outing against the Rangers is a perfect example. You were up 1-0, 2-0. You get 2 outs in an inning, and you just give up 4 runs. What the hell? Now, I mean, I could sit there. I can buy. Hey, I got a single. Maybe it's a seeing eye single. Maybe the next guy gets a hit. Maybe But why are you giving up a 2-run bomb after all of that? I mean, to me, if you look at the careers, and you look at certainly the Astros careers, if you look at guys like, Roger Clemens, Roy Oswalt, Andy Pettitte, Justin Verlander, or even a Garrett Cole, how many crooked numbers did they give up in innings?
None. You could, especially with JV, you might get a high fastball you can get out of the ballpark. That's about it. Like, once they settle in, you aren't getting much.
And there are days when they don't have it. And I
get a run here, a run here. It's a picket fence scenario.
And so I just don't, Framber, particularly after 2 outs in an inning.
He lets up mentally.
I mean, and so I don't want to pay that guy $30 million a year.
No.
I just don't. And what scares me is that if you offer him a qualifying offer, I know you get the draft pick, but I could see Framber just screw you. I take it. You're like, shit.
Not after his fucking Instagram post the other day, where very cryptically called somebody out for being bad for him, even though occasionally it looks good. Like, I get that a situation like the pitch clock changed to how Framber has to go, right? Like, when Framber was at his best, he was able to walk around the mound, cool off, do what he needed to do in between pitches. And now he almost works too fast, right? Like we talked about it previously, where he just catches and goes. And he does not know how to chill himself the fuck out. Like, it's a lonely space up there on the rubber. I get it. But Framber specifically, outside of maybe Luis Garcia with the pitch clock, I can't think of anyone it's hurt more at a high level than those 2 Astros pitchers.
Well, and you mentioned, and I know you sent, a pretty lengthy text, wanting to talk about the pitch clock. And I would be interested to know, league-wide, what the rate of injuries is since we've adopted the pitch clock. I would love, because the problem is that there's other things that they have done, because I think Garrett Cole was a particular outspoken about getting rid of the spider tech. And so, there's some people that have said, okay, these guys have to now grip the ball harder in order to keep a grip on it. So maybe that's causing some of these injuries. I don't know. My thing would be, Okay, we don't want Mike Hargrove, the human rain delay in the batter's box, Nomar Garcia-Parra sitting there going, with the gloves. I get all that. But why can't you add 5 seconds to the pitch clock or 10 seconds? Would that really make a huge difference in the length and flow of a game? And would it make a bigger difference in giving these guys a breather and giving their arms a breather so that, they got a little bit of extra time to recover?
But I also will go to my grave saying I never thought baseball was too long. I never once said baseball games are taking too long, please shorten them. Right? There wasn't a problem with the way it was. You were trying to cater to non-baseball fans and non-baseball people by making the game move faster. There's a subtlety to this game. There's a nuance to this game. There's what taking a lap around the mound can do for a pitcher. All these things were part of the experience of baseball, uniquely part of the experience of baseball. And there was no need to change. And I think you're right. We need to do a look at some of these numbers of rate of injury or Tommy John rate or things like that. But it's tough because you can't isolate that data, right? Teams have emphasized spin rate and velocity the last 5 or 6 years. So that changes the rate of Tommy John as well.
Well, and the point I would make with the flow of the game, think about the last college football game you went to, Tim, and how long did it take?
3.5 hours.
I would say that's a quick college football game.
Yeah, I mean it was.
It's almost
like 7 to 10:30. It was that TCU UH game I went to.
I mean, have you ever seen the Bad News Bears 2?
But I mean, how about this, Scott? Not even, and I have, yes, the one they go to Japan.
No, this is
the one they play in the Astrodome.
Yeah, they play in the Astrodome, and you get the loudmouth owner, and he starts that chant, "Let them play, let them play." I mean, every time I'm at a college football game, we get those TV timeouts. I mean, I start chanting that, "Let them play."
I mean, I do high school games on Friday nights, and even those games take no less than 3 hours. No less than 3, with no TV timeouts, with no nothing. A high school football game can take 3 hours, and no one has a problem with it. Yeah. Why is a baseball game taking 3.5 hours a problem?
Well, that's why Rob Manfred doesn't love the sport. So, I mean, he's looking for how can I change the sport of baseball? And there are some things that I think he's done that I think are net positives. I think going with the larger bag, probably increase running a little bit, and that's probably a good thing. But I'm not a big fan of banning the shift. Learn how to hit the ball the other way.
Yeah.
How do we?
Let's
dumb. Try that. And then the whole ghost runner thing. To me, I'll go to my grave saying that's a stupid ass rule. That's not bait. Why don't we just have a home run derby in the extra innings and say fuck it? I mean. And tell them, but instead of sending your slugger, send in your weakest guy. Okay, Doobie, you're going out there. You're going to be playing home run derby, and you're going to go against who's Toronto's weakest hitter? I can't even think.
I don't know much about Toronto Blue Jays baseball.
It's Doobie against Loperfido. Okay,
that's not a good matchup. That doesn't work in our favor there.
No, it doesn't. But of course, the Astros power numbers have been down overall, so I don't know if there's going to be many home run derby matchups that work in our favor once you eliminate Yordan.
No, I have to agree with that as well. But let's move from one disappointment to another, Scott. You and I were shocked at what the odds makers had the spread at for the Houston Texans opening game, and I have to say, well, Vegas was right.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what,
2.5 for the Rams. They end up winning by 5.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, we're 30th in the NFL in scoring. Thank God for the Giants and for the Dolphins, because it would be pretty awful. I don't know. So I looked it up because I did a piece for Battle Red Blog earlier this week. We went from spending $50 million roughly on our offensive line to spending $26 million. So not 26. I think it's a little over 30. But we went from 5th in the league in how much we spent on our line to 26th. That's what it was.
But a majority of that difference is Tunsil. Like he was making a large portion of that.
But the point is that you really didn't spend anything to replace him. Now, if you went out there and said, hey, Tunsil's making $30 million, let's spend $15 million on this guy. Let's spend another $15 million on this guy. Then I'd be like, okay, I see what you're doing. But we didn't spend that kind of money. We got Cam Robinson for $12 million. Okay, that's, for a tackle, that's not good money. And then
I don't even think he started, did he?
He did because so here's the other thing with the line, Tim. So Ed Ingram is your right guard.
Okay.
In a perfect world. But Ed Ingram's hurt. So let me ask you this, right? So you have 4 healthy linemen out of your original allotment. One of them's hurt. What's your battle plan with that?
What should it be, or what? I feel like the Texans would move Howard to right guard and then start a different right tackle.
Tim Costello, you're the head coach.
I'm going to have a backup right guard.
Yeah, that's what I would think, right? Apparently, Juice Scruggs is not playable, which, raises the question, why the hell is he on your roster if he's not playable? Well, the answer is because he's a second-round pick, and you can't cut second-round picks. So, and you don't want to play Blake Fisher because, he was in there for a handful of plays, and one of them was a 15-yard, face mask penalty. Thank you, Blake. So what do? You did what you just mentioned. You shuffle Titus to guard. You shuffle Ursery over to right tackle, even though he spent like the last half of camp playing left tackle. And you put Cam Robinson in at left tackle. So you basically rearrange 4 guys on the line because one guy can't play. It doesn't make any sense.
And I don't think Ursery's been bad at left tackle, right? Like I think he's got the right attitude and he wants to be great. And I think he's got the work ethic to be pretty good. And that's more than can be said for the way our offensive line worked last year, right? Like I didn't see work ethic on anyone's part there. No offense to anybody, but like the effort wasn't there on the offensive line. I don't understand the moving Titus Howard inside thing all the time. He's a fucking great right tackle. He's a very, very good right tackle. He's an average guard. Why would you want to downgrade at 2 positions instead of just 1? It makes no fucking sense to me.
And even if you're going to do that, Tim, Cam Robinson's a 9-year veteran. You play fucking right. You play fucking right tackle.
Yeah.
Ursery is, as a rookie, he's got, limited experience, period. Why not leave him a position where he's comfortable instead of asking the rookie to be versatile?
Mid-game
Why don't we ask the 9-year veteran to be versatile? You're asking Titus, you're absolutely right. You're asking Titus Howard. I don't know how good he is at right tackle, but he's certainly a better tackle than he is a guard. So, I don't get it.
I think he's a pretty damn good right tackle when he actually gets to fucking play right tackle. But the problem is, since he signed that deal, the Texans have treated him the way the Astros treat Hader, which is like, hey, we've committed to you long-term, so we're going to use you whoever the fuck we want. And that's what they've done to him. So I think his ratings are down at both positions. But if you look at the way he was playing right tackle up until the point he got signed to that extension, he was a top 15 right tackle in this league.
Yeah, but see, just put Juice Scruggs in at guard. That's, and if he sucks for a week, but your other 4 positions are going to be better because you're not asking guys to move around. From what I understand, Lincoln Tomlinson, left guard, was okay. Cam Robinson was okay. Jake Andrews was okay until he got hurt. Now he's out for an indeterminable amount of time. So you're going with Jarrett Patterson, who was a 6th-round pick. See, that's the other thing that, we sat there on draft day. Everybody sat there on draft day. 3rd round goes by, no interior lineman. 4th round goes by, no interior lineman. 5th round goes by, no interior lineman. Like, they're going to draft an interior lineman, right? Right? And they never did. And now you're surprised when you don't have options.
Yeah, I mean, Cacero's done a really nice job of turning this roster around, right? From where he inherited this thing to where it is now. Guy's done a really nice job. But we also can't sit here and pretend like there haven't been huge misses in the draft. And you can't pretend like he hasn't ignored areas of giant need to, maybe take a flyer on a guy who could be good, but maybe ends up sucking and never playing, a la we just Mechie, right? Like, obviously extenuating circumstances happened there, but that was a second round pick. A second round pick for a wide receiver who did absolutely nothing for you at a time. Like, did we need to spend that pick on that guy? You go and draft a guard in the first round who everybody at the time was like, this is, we getting a lineman, but this guy is where the fuck is this pick coming from? And he's not even on the team and got cut by the Eagles this year. So in Brown, right? What are we doing? I mean, not Brown.
Blake Fisher.
No, the Green. I'm sorry, Green. Different color.
Yeah.
Different color name. But right, color. Like you whiffed. You completely whiffed on a first round lineman.
Well, you
whiff on Scruggs. Scruggs is a whiff, second round pick. Like you have not drafted the line well. You whiffed on Fisher.
And Fisher at the time, everybody's like, tackle? Don't you have 2 tackles already? Why are you?
They're playing fucking Titus Howard at guard.
But he spent most of the year at tackle. But it's like, what are you? And I think definitely with Scruggs, and definitely with Kenyon Green, there were whispers that they were overdrafted. Like Scruggs, I think, was pegged as a 4th rounder. Drafted in the 2nd round. We traded up to get him, Tim. I don't, and so, and I'll say this. If you want to compare another position group, this guy, Caserio, knocks it out of the park every time he drafts a defensive back.
Yes.
I mean,
agreed.
Lassiter, great pick. Stingley, great pick. Kalen Bullock, great pick. And then he's picked a couple this year that so far look pretty good. So, hey, bang up job there. So, obviously, this is not a fire Caserio moment.
But he's not, like, let's also say, like, he's not the one doing the scouting of everyone, right? Like, there are scouts who go and give him reports on players. So, whoever's doing the scouting for the defensive backs, hey, you're doing a great job. You're giving me some really, really good information that's paying off really well, and we'll make good decisions. Whoever's doing the scouting for the offensive lineman, hey, you fucking suck. You're fired. I need to get somebody else in this position.
Unfortunately, right? I don't know that it works that way, Tim. It's kind of like in baseball. I don't think they have like you're a pitching scout. I think it's area scouts. So, a guy's going to watch Texas Tech play, and he can recognize a good DB, can't recognize a good lineman.
We need a lineman-specific scout. Like in today's day and age, with the amount of tape available and all these games that are streamed and whatever it is, you can sit at your couch and just watch offensive line play for 8 hours a day, 9 to 5, and the Texans should pay you a reasonable salary, right? Like that shouldn't $100,000 a year to watch a shit ton of college football every day from 9 to 5, and let me know what the good offensive linemen are. Oh, maybe hire Mel Kiper because he's always right and he never misses.
And Ursery might turn out to be good. He might very well turn out to be good.
I think he's going to be good, which makes it more frustrating that you moved him from left tackle to right tackle during the game because you have potentially your left tackle of the future, right? Like you never moved Tunsil to right tackle during a game, right? That your left tackle stayed that way, and it's definitely frustrating. But then we look at just the offensive results, right? 9 points is unacceptable. Stroud, although under pressure, was like 8 of 8 against the blitz and did pretty well with rushers in his face. But is it me or this? It just seemed like there was no pop, no snap, no crackle. There's no pop.
Well, when you have a 41% pressure rate, which is what they did, you can beat the blitz, but you're not going downfield.
Correct.
splits. And so when you looked at this offense, it was very condensed. Everything was happening within, 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. And you can't do that for very long. The running game, I thought Nick Chubb looked pretty good. He looked pretty good. I'm still not sure what Dameon Pierce, his role on this football team is.
He must bring the donuts to the team meetings or something. Like that's what he's doing around.
Ogunbowale is a very good special teams player.
He cost us that game, though.
He should not be on the field on offense.
Nope.
He has no business being on the field, which brings me to my next point is if Dameon Pierce is worthless and Ogunbowale is worthless as a offensive player, you got Woody Marks and what?
Dameon Pierce being on the roster is the reason that OG has to be the third down back in that scenario, right? Like if you've got a better receiving back or a change of pace back that you could have put in there instead of OG, that's who's making that play instead of him. And it's not fair to just sit here and blame him. It was a heck of a punch out. It was a great play, but as you said, he shouldn't be the guy in a crucial receiving back scenario on the field. That's not who he is as a football player.
Well, and we saw it last year. There were moments where he was unplayable because he was blowing blocking assignments. So to me, if you're not blocking, if you're not running, if you're not passing, I don't know. Are you familiar with Adam Ant?
I am not, no.
80 song, don't drink, don't smoke. What do you do? No. Goody two shoes. If you don't run the ball, you don't catch the ball, and you don't block, what do you do?
How many guys can we have bringing donuts to team meetings, right? That can only be one. I truly think that, like, I think Dameon Pierce brings Shipley's, but I think he's got, like, a separate bag, and he, like, stopped by his Caserio office. He's like, I know you like the Bear Claw. Here you go. And then he stops by, like, D'Amico's office. He's like, Coach, I put a maple twist aside for you. I know those are your favorites. And then he drops the glaze or whatever for everybody else, just so he's getting some good FaceTime with the front office.
Because I don't know if you saw the opening kickoff. So the opening kickoff is a squibber that he is unable to field. So he runs back, kneels it down in the end zone, which is now goes out to the 20 instead of the 35, because if a kickoff lands in the field of play and goes into the end zone, then the ball's at the 20. Number one, I can't imagine Frank Bush did not go over that rule with him. Can you imagine him? Oh, shit, I forgot to tell him about that rule. That's my bad. I don't think that's happening. So, to me, Ogunbowale is a guy that I like having on the 53-man roster because I like having good special teams players. I mean, I think it's an important phase of the game. Dameon Pierce, what do you do? What do you do, Tim? I mean, what does he do well? I mean, if he's not bringing, unless he's, is that?
I've told you my theory on why he's still on the team. He's bringing breakfast.
Well, the Astros just sent down Chaz McCormick. Let him bring in donuts into the training facility. I mean, Sugarland season's ending pretty soon, isn't it? I mean,
could you imagine that conversation? Like, you're at Joe Espada's office. It's like, Chaz, I've got some really bad news for you. We're really sorry. It's not working out. And unfortunately, part of this reassignment to AAA means that you are now actually going to be the Shipley's delivery guy for the Houston Texans. Meetings start at 6:30 every morning, and they need an equal amount of glazed and chocolate iced. And Caserio likes a Bear Claw, and D'Amico likes a maple twist.
He'll be another Brendan Rodgers where he's like, I went into the clubhouse and I didn't have my locker. My locker was gone. And Urias, he took the last sandwich and I didn't get a sandwich. And my banana pudding wasn't there. But I love my banana pudding. And if I don't get a burned down building. I mean,
could you imagine, like, if there were donuts and like there's a line, right? And like Daniil Hunter takes a second donut and it just so happens to be the last donut and Dameon Pierce doesn't get one. I didn't get the donut. Everybody got donuts. I didn't get donuts. Daniil took a second donut, and Jamaica would be like, "Well, Daniil earned a second donut, motherfucker."
So, and that's where we, when Washington is trading, who was it that they traded? I want to say Williams. Robinson. That's right. I knew it was a common name. For a fifth, was it a fifth or sixth rounder?
Sixth.
So you couldn't come up with a sixth round pick or a fifth round pick. That would have been, and to sit there and say, bye Damian, we just want some insurance, particularly if you know that Mixon's going to be out at the minimum a month. I mean, you got to have a backup tailback. I'm sorry. Woody Marks might be it someday, but he's a rookie. You don't know it until you see it.
I agree with you. And we know what OG is, right? Like, why is at least I understand you don't trust rookies, whatever it is. Why is he on the roster that day? And why is he not in the game in that situation? I can't imagine it would have been worse. I just I was a little disappointed that, obviously you hate to lose. I truly feel like we were a better football team than what we showed that day. And when you spend the whole off season hyping it up and looking forward to that first game of the year, and then that's new offensive coordinator, new offense, who this, all that stuff, and it's just like this looked exactly like last year where CJ never had any time to throw the football.
I love when I used to listen to John and Lance when they were on 610. They would do RC Slocum on a mobile, and he would do like I don't know if you remember watching RC Slocum A&M. The A&M teams.
No.
Where, his offense would get like 8 first downs and would lose like 14-10. And he's like, I don't understand, man. This offense gave our defense 8 first downs, and we couldn't hold it up. I'm sitting there thinking, this defense, this offense gave them 9 points, Tim. You had a 2-point lead going into the second half. You can't shut out a Hall of Fame quarterback in the second half. What good are you?
Yeah. I mean, I as much as we've talked negatively about the offense, I do think it needs to be said the defense did their job. Defense looked pretty good. Like, the defense is maybe not their best performance, but hey, if that's not your best work and you allowed 2 touchdowns and that's it, and you literally had a big turnover at the end of the game to give your team a chance to go win a football game, like, what more can you ask for from your defense than what they gave you that day?
I mean, would you like to have a turnover on your end of the field and give your offense a short field? Sure.
Sure. Still in the biggest moment of the game where you had to make something happen, you did.
But from the middle of the third quarter on, you're down 14-9, and you can't score a damn point in a quarter and a half. I mean, that's not on the defense.
Nope.
Not on the defense.
Nope. Defense played a very good football game. I feel like every game the Texans have lost since D'Amico's been here, we have never come in here and be like, wow, the defense blew that one. Or maybe Minnesota last year was one where the defense got punched in the mouth a little bit, but for the most part, it was after every loss that you and I have come on this podcast, we've sat here and been like, really feel like the defense gave the offense a chance to win that way. It didn't go that way.
Well, in Minnesota, the offense got punched in the mouth just as badly. I mean, I guess you could go like the New York Jets games. In the second half,
no scoring.
There was no scoring, and so you could sit there and say the defense buckled under in the second half. But of course they did, because they're always on the field. When you're sitting there going 3 and out, consistently, and that's and so I don't know if you want to do a referendum on CJ Stroud, but do you want to pay him $60 million?
No, not right now. Like, I am. After year one, people thought CJ Stroud was going to be the next, guy, right? The next number 1 quarterback that could challenge Mahomes and all these other guys. I'm not saying he's not going to be a very good quarterback, but I think we maybe need to look at what his ceiling is a little differently and look at how we build teams a little differently and say, hey, we think you're more of a Jalen Hurts type guy. We're not going to give you the biggest contract in the world, but we'll give you a nice contract, and we're going to give you a lot of weapons around you, and we're going to make you effective that way, right? Like, we can't give you $50 million a year, but how about 25 and a really nice receiving core?
Because I don't know, did you watch Sunday Night Football?
I did not. I watched some, not all, but some.
I mean,
That was Ravens Bills, or was that Monday?
yeah, Ravens Bills 41
Okay,
to
yeah.
40.
That was a good game.
I don't see how you can watch Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Even if you go into the damn Brazil game, which, you know, gets a secondary, you know, punch in the gut from me. It's not a winner, but do you realize that, you know, the Chargers were the home team? We talked about it last week with the lawsuit. There was a lot of red in that stadium. That was not a Chargers home game. But you can't watch what Justin Herbert was doing and what Patrick Mahomes was doing, what Lamar Jackson was doing, what Josh Allen was doing, and sit there and say, yeah, I think C.J. Stroud's one of those guys. No. So is he as good? Do you think – where would you rank him with Baker Mayfield?
On par. I think like the highest ceiling you could get for Stroud, I think it depends on your opinion if you'd be happy with this or not, but like what Jared Goff has done under Ben Johnson the last 2 seasons previously with the Lions, right? Like, pretty damn good quarterback. Obviously not the best quarterback in the league, but like with the right coordinator or the right players around him, very, very productive. Like,
yeah,
I think that could be CJ.
They were compared very favorably on draft day. In fact, that was the biggest comp that people could. Would you rank him with Dak Prescott?
I mean, I think Dak's a goof and all that other stuff, but like, realistically, is it fair to say he's a better quarterback right now?
I mean, he puts up better regular season numbers, certainly.
Stats wise, he definitely fills up the stat sheet better. I think he knows how to use his legs better than CJ does. I think CJ is just as athletic as Dak Prescott. I don't think CJ knows when to tuck it and take off. Like, he just tries to buy time too often instead of picking up the easy 7-8 yards to keep the change moving, where Dak is a lot more willing to do that.
He got better. I think he was better in this game, Stroud. I think he tucked it under, particularly in the first half. He had a very good run at the end of the first half. I mean, so if I keep ticking off quarterbacks, would you rather have him or Jordan Love?
I think they're pretty similar.
Okay,
that's about where I'd have the line of like who's about as good as who.
And if you want to keep on going get down the line, would you rather have him or Kyler Murray?
Him.
Okay, would you take away the age and just look at ability? Would you rather have him or Stafford?
Oh, Stafford.
Yeah. So when you start ranking quarterbacks and we start listing these things off, it starts to get pretty, it's pretty bleak when you start to get to 10, 12 guys that you would rather have or equal to Stroud.
And again, that's not a detriment to Stroud. I still think with the right system and the right players around him, Stroud can be a very, very good quarterback. But I do think maybe we need to stop looking at this guy as the next Tom Brady, where you can run out there with Jabbar Gaffney and Ben Watson, and he's going to turn them into all-pro receivers, because that's not who he is. Like, he looked best when he had quality playmakers around him. He did not look great last year when he had to throw to Hutchinson and he had to throw to Mechie and he had to throw to guys who were not really good wide receivers.
And the other part of that too is, look at what Daniel Jones did on Sunday. He scored on every possession. So is that a case of, the Giants completely mismanaging Daniel Jones? Is that a case where he's in a system that, happens to fit him? And so, then the question then becomes, if Daniel
and don't forget to add in, they were playing the Dolphins. Like,
yeah,
it's a case of better system, poor coaching previously, and you're going against the fucking Dolphins.
Right. And he's not going to be that good against everybody else. But my point is that, do we have, him and the Stroud in the right system? I mean, is there another guy? I mean, look at what Geno Smith did in Las Vegas. I mean, he threw for nearly 400 yards in week 1.
Well, to be fair, there's a huge difference in dome Geno versus outdoor Geno. Dome Geno is Drew Brees. Outdoor Geno is fucking Tom Savage, right? Like when Gino has a fucking roof, he is an elite quarterback.
It can't be that. I mean, that can't be that.
He's got like a 103 quarterback rating in roofed environments or retractable roof environments, and like an 83 quarterback rating when he has to play outside, and he gets sacked at like a 3 times as high rate.
Well, thank God he's playing indoors in half of his games, but
that's why people are saying Gino could have a huge year this year.
But I guess, his offensive coordinator is also Chip Kelly, who was on the market. But the thing is that Chip Kelly's getting paid more money than D'Amico Ryans is making. I mean, check that out. So here's a funny thing. You know how much money Pete Carroll's getting paid to coach the Raiders?
He's like $10 or $12 million a year.
15.
Okay.
And how much Chip Kelly's getting paid to be offensive coordinator?
Probably like 12.
6.
Okay. D'Amico makes less than 6?
Yeah, he's making 4.2.
Jesus.
So if you had hired Chip Kelly, you would have not only had to pay him $6 million, you would have had to give D'Amico a raise to like at least 7.
This is like when in The Office when Daryl wants a raise and he learns that like Michael needs to get a raise too because Michael's so underpaid that like now it turns into like, oh shit, Michael's gonna get a raise. So like they'd want to hire Chip Kelly and they'd be like, Chip's like, I need $6 million, and he's like, that's more than I make. He's like, well, maybe you should ask for more. So next thing you know, like they're walking into Casario's office together, like we both need raises.
So I mean, and I'm not saying anything bad about Nick Caley necessarily because it's one football game. But Daniel Jones is a new quarterback in a new place and in a new offense, and it looked a lot better. Now we'll have to see, is the Bucs defense as good as the Rams defense? Probably not. Are we going to eventually face a bad football team? Yes, we play in the AFC South. We're eventually going to play plenty of bad football teams. So, we'll have to see how it all turns out.
I think it just goes to show like how much systems really matter. You saw the Lions not look good in week 1 after they lost both of their coordinators.
Yeah.
Head coaches are obviously important. They set the tone. But at the end of the day, especially a guy like Dan Campbell who doesn't have full control of the defense the way like a D'Amico Ryans does, he relies on those coordinators. The systems absolutely matter. And when you've got a guy who has a great system who can put a player in position to make plays, he'll look like a world beater, right? Like the first year through, Bobby Slowick put CJ Stroud in positions to make plays, and people thought CJ was going to be the next great guy. Last year, he did not put him in position to make plays, and people were wondering, is this the second year regression? And I'm with you. It's been one game. The pressure rate was high. He had injuries on the offensive line. However, to me, this system didn't look terribly different than what we dealt with last year, other than we didn't have a tight end blocking an elite pass rusher. Like that was the main difference. I expected way more motion. And again, I'll talk more about why I didn't get to see as much as I wanted to see in my awards segment. But, I when I looked at like what the Rams do, they are constantly bringing guys across the formation, getting them moving before the snap, moving laterally to try and have an option out in the flat if you don't want to go deep. I assumed, and maybe I wrongly assumed this because Caley was a former Ram as well as other places, that we'd be bringing in a lot of those concepts too, right? Moving a tight end across the formation, moving a receiver across the formation, getting guys in motion at a higher rate. And that does not look to be a part of our offense.
Okay. Are we ready for that time?
You want to give some awards out?
Let's do that. Let's do this thing.
Let's just do the punch and the junk one first. I still don't have a moniker for that one, but feel free to pick an Astros offensive player who should be kicked to the balls.
I'm going to pick, the puncher, I'm going to go with George Costanza. 7 scoreless innings. And to me, George and Jason Alexander is the perfect example of my complaint against people that want to sit there retroactively and say Dusty Baker was right in 2023 when he didn't play Yiner and Chaz. It's like, you can't retroactively sit there and say, well, those guys suck now, so he was right back, 2 years ago. I mean, that would be like, you know what, Tim? Ryan Presley sucks as a reliever. Would you agree?
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been the closer in 2022. because
Different conversation.
because he sucks now. That's my proof that he shouldn't have been the closer back in 2022. But Jason Alexander is a perfect example of guy. He may be dog shit next year, and it would not surprise me. He's nails now. You realize they are 8-0 as a team in his last 8 starts?
I did.
But did he get the win this week?
No, because the bullpen couldn't hold it.
So
I mean, we were a Yiner home run away from being swept.
And so my punch in the junk, I'm going to do that, that whole rolling chair thing that you did before. Okay, you 9 guys in the lineup. He's going to do the spin. He's going to punch all of y'all in the junk because y'all got to get more than 2 runs on the damn board, especially against Jose Barrios, who is a very average pitcher.
Very much so. I agree. That's a great one. I saw a clip today from a couple of hosts that you mentioned earlier in this show with Zerline and Lopez.
Yeah.
And I think Zerline's fantastic when it comes to football. I don't necessarily always agree with his baseball analysis, right? Like he is an expert when it comes to grading linemen. They should hire Lance Zerline if you really want to have that guy who grades linemen. But he made the comparison to Greg Maddux. He literally called Jason Alexander a modern Greg Maddux with the pitching to contact and the velocity and the movement. And it was just like, let's slow our roll a little bit there, Lance. But he has pitched well.
Yeah. So who you got? Who you nominating for this award here, Tim?
My kicker is Luis Garcia. My kick-e is Rob Manfred. Luis Garcia was on a phenomenal track as a young and up-and-coming pitcher. The rock the baby delivery was a joy to many as we watched him bring the baseball to home plate. But Rob Manfred decided that this delivery needed to go away and that he wasn't able to do that anymore. And he had to reinvent a delivery that he's used his whole life. Well, lo and behold, leads to Tommy John surgery, a Tommy John that takes nearly 2 years to get back from. That gets us 1.1 starts out of Luis Garcia before he ultimately is going to have another Tommy John surgery, it looks like. So I think Luis Garcia would have been on track to at least have one really good contract after his rookie deal ran out. And now it looks like Luis Garcia might never make it out of that rookie contract. I believe Rob Manfred cost Luis Garcia millions and millions of dollars. And for that reason, Luis Garcia should get to walk right up with a pair of steel toe fucking boots and kick Rob Manfred right in the fucking balls.
So, and to make a finer point on that, at the game, I can't remember who was pitching for the Angels in the game that I went to, but he had one of those delayed leg kicks. I don't know if you've ever seen that from a pitcher where it's almost like a fake. That was allowed. That's deceiving the hitter. That's throwing them off their timing. Why is that allowed?
I mean, I think you and I both just need to accept that we live in like an anti-Astros world, right? Like the Astros were painted a certain way. It's very easy to single them out and make the rest of baseball happy. So it happens. Like, I don't think that that's a conspiracy. I think that that's pretty obvious the way that things come down from Major League Baseball's office, both in-game reviews of plays that like we're all watching and going, yeah, that'll be overturned. And then they come back and they're like, nope, it's confirmed. And we're all just like, what? But yeah, it's a non-Astros world and we're just fucked to be a part of it.
All right, Tim, here we go.
All right, Pow, right in the kisser. Scott, who do you have for us this week?
So this is a minor award, Tim. I think we've agreed that this is the lower of the threshold. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, yeah.
So I'm going Nick Caserio based on the offensive line, based on the fact that if this were the first offseason where he were trying to scrimp and save on the Ed Ingrams and Laken Tomlinsons and Jake Matthews and Trent Brown, who nobody has seen because he's been hurt, If this was the first off season he was doing this, I'd be like, okay, I get it. But last off season, we insert Kenyon Green at left guard with absolutely zero competition and are absolutely flabbergasted that it doesn't work out. Getting him absolutely nobody else that can play the position properly. And so to me, the whole idea that if you're going to sit there and you're going to go through camp and you're going to decide Blake Fisher and Juice Scruggs are unplayable, we have to reshuffle the line in order to avoid playing them. Why are they on the roster? Why not in July and August you're like, oh shit, these guys suck. Let's go trade for somebody, right when rosters are, being formed. You could have traded a 6th, 7th rounder for a decent backup guard, you would think. But nope, can't do that. They're 2nd-round picks. My God, we can't cut 2nd-round picks. We got to do something with it. So Nick Caserio, for that, I'm not raising you to the level of scumbag. I'm not raising you to the level of horse's ass. You're just at that lower level of irritation.
I think that's fair, right? There are certainly moments where you and I both wondered where that next guy was going to come from or why we didn't make moves, or it just seemed like there was a move that needed to be made that never came. And I think that's a really fair way to look at it. So this one, for the lesser of the awards, I'm going to put two people right next to each other and kind of do like a pop, and, get it right at the same time. And that is Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones. What day did the Cowboys play this week?
Last week they played on Thursday.
That would be correct. They were the Thursday game. So Sunday rolls around and the Houston Texans have the 3:25 kickoff, and I take a look at the coverage map. And do you want to guess what game was DFW Metroplex had at 3:25?
It wasn't the Texans.
Nope. The only major city in the state of Texas to not have the fucking Texans. We got Lions, whoever they played at 3:25.
Green Bay.
Right? Green Bay. Lions Green Bay was the game that we got at 3:25, as opposed to the in-state team, the only Texas team playing on Sunday, because, again, the Cowboys played on fucking Thursday. There is literally, if you look at the coverage map, the entire state is red for the Texans game, and there's a circle drawn around the DFW Metroplex that's blue for the Lions. And then it's red again, like everywhere, until you get to the north where they play the Lions and Packers. In what world do we need to do that, right? Like if I don't understand, because in Houston they still play both games, but in Dallas, like I guess on Sunday, if you want to tell me we own Sunday when but you weren't playing. You played on fucking Thursday. There was absolutely no reason I had to watch only fucking red zone coverage of the Houston Texans, which, by the way, when you only score 9 points, there's not a lot of red zone coverage of your team until the final minute of the game when you're the only one left on TV. Like it is so frustrating to live in this world where we're the only team in the state playing, and we're the only city in this state that does not have the game on TV.
Yeah, that would be pretty frustrating. And I think what a lot of it is they are driving. It's a ploy to drive people to the NFL Sunday Ticket. I think it's almost, it's a kick in the balls, because, Janet goes through the same thing where we are the same distance away in driving time from New Orleans that we are from Dallas. And New Orleans is hardly ever on the TV. And that drives her nuts. I happen to think that probably not watching the Saints this year might be better for her mental health.
It's for your mental health.
But I mean, they're clearly tanking for somebody. I don't know if it's Arch Manning or if it's going to be somebody else, but that's clearly where they're at. But yeah, that has to be Jerry, because that's just he's that kind of petty.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's got a stranglehold on us, and like I don't even want to watch the Cowboys. It's not like you forcing me to not watch the Texans will make me watch your team. I'm just gonna put on Red Zone, right? Like the fact that I have to pay $100 for it is what it is, but at least I get something. All right, Scott, let's go with the horse's ass. Who do you have for us this week?
So I'm going to reference a point that you made earlier. I'm going to go with Framber Valdez. And actually, there's a hat tip I'm about to give, and I would rather see this guy on the hill for the rest of the season than Framber Valdez.
Blue ball.
Yeah, because I think Framber Valdez is
the sad part is we need both now.
Yeah, that's true. But I think he's a guaranteed L. Like, I'd almost rather see Colton Gordon, taking his spot in the rotation because the thing is that what you're going to get from Framber is you're going to get 5 good innings, and you're going to get 1 or 2 innings where things just go sideways and he can't recover. And what's he going to do afterwards? Instead of sitting there saying, hey, I sucked, I need to do better, he's going to make these little cryptic comments where, oh, it's the catcher's fault. So you throw and you hit Salazar in the chest. He can't catch you anymore. So we're going to go back to Diaz. But we know you don't like Diaz, and you're going to throw him under the bus because he struggles to catch, some of your curveballs, which he does. So now you've got Caratini. I don't know why they haven't gone to Caratini with Framber yet. Maybe
I think Caratini was hurt with the concussion at the time that the move was needed to be made. I think Caratini caught him once, and then he got a concussion, and then they went to Salazar.
So, but this last time it was Diaz. Why didn't they go back to Caratini? I don't know.
I think Diaz is swinging the bat well, and you can't afford to DH Caratini now when Altuve's unplayable at second base.
But do you want a pitcher who is that much of a mind fuck to sit there and say, I will only allow this guy to catch me? And I'm not, and so that's
not unless you're Verlander, right? Like JV had a personal catcher.
But even
Shane Reynolds used to only work with Tony Eusebio back in the day.
But do you think JV would be stomping around doing, I want this guy. Let me throw to this guy.
Scott, we are forgetting that he requested a personal center fielder.
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree.
I mean, he was like, when I pitch, I want Dupont in center.
Okay. You got me there. You got me there. But I'm done with Framber. If he doesn't pitch again this year, I'm fine. I know he's going to. I know he's probably going to get in at least 2 more starts, if not 3. So, I mean, we'll just kind of have to brace it, hope the offense shows up because, he's not. And that's what kills me. I'm going to get to the next guys, when I get to the next group. But it might actually be a triple hat tip. But it's just I don't. Where's the mental you talked about fight. You talked about pop. There are some guys on this team that are producing despite everything that's going against them. So it's not non-existent. It's just non-existent in Framber.
That's fair. Between the guy you're going to hat tip and Jason Alexander, those guys have some juice, right? They bring it night in and night out. The only problem is they pitch every 5 days. Right, the guys who are in the lineup who play every single day seem to just look defeated a lot of times. Scott, I'm going to take this horse's ass. When we originally created this award, it was for a guy who needs to get out of town, or in this case, I'm going to use it as a guy who needs to get his fucking head on straight. In the last 7 outings, Brian Abreu has a 10.80 ERA. He's allowed 11 hits, 8 runs, 4 walks across 6 2/3 innings. In the 8 outings prior to that, he only walked 2 batters, didn't allow any earned runs, struck out 13, and had a 1.28 whip. The whip is nearly double at 2.25. The ERA is skyrocketed. And when you take it back to his last 30 games, he didn't allow any earned runs in his 8 games prior to the last 7. And his 23 games prior to the last 7, he only allowed 3 earned runs. The whip in the 23 games prior to his last 7, basically since being the closer, was 0.98. So as the moment has gotten bigger for Brian Abreu, he has shrunk. Like we talked about when Hader went down, I was really worried because Brian Abreu is not going to be as good in the 9th inning. He's never been a good 9th inning pitcher. In fact, when we signed Hader 2 years ago, I was really in favor of that move simply from the fact of like we assumed Brian Abreu was the closer of the future, but he never pitches well in the ninth inning. We needed a guy who could legitimately be that ninth inning guy. And the moment that Hader went down, this was a chance for Brian Abreu, right? Like you've got some fucking RBers coming up. Like you got a chance to make a argument for yourself, or get an extension signed instead of going to arbitration. And instead, you've quite frankly shit the fucking bed here. I hate to harp on Tuesday night's loss, but that one, to me, Scott, that was a demoralizing loss. You mentioned what Blue Bah did after Luis Garcia got hurt, but like you overcame a demoralizing injury that night to still enter the ninth inning with a 2-run lead. And from the moment Abreu took the mound in the ninth, you never felt good. Never.
No, and one of the things I would say is a silver lining is that I think before those 7 outings that you mentioned, or was it 8 outings, for the last handful of outings, he was probably a really good extension candidate. He was probably looking at a Rafael Montero deal. Well, if you gave him a Rafael Montero deal, you'd probably get Rafael Montero level production. I am good with him going season to season. I'm not. I mean, I'm going to give him his arbitration number, but I don't feel comfortable paying him more than a year-to-year basis.
Nope. He's a fucking head case.
And there, and hey, if he's nothing but a great 8th inning guy, I mean, Octavio Dotel was a great 8th inning guy.
Those guys are valuable. They're very, very valuable.
Yeah, and he was never a good closer, Dotel. I mean, he did it.
You know where they're valuable, Scott? About $4 million a year, $5 million a year.
Yeah,
they're not worth the $13 million a year that Abreu. Like literally, this guy was pitching his way towards pretty significant deal.
These days, I think you might be looking at those guys. Typically got between 8 and 10 million. I mean, there's been a lot of inflation in the relief market, but yeah, I'm not going long term with him because the other question I would have with him is he just gassed?
I don't think so. I truly think his best year was when he was the 7th inning guy last year. Like the less leverage he's had, the better he's been. When you had Presley in the 8th and Hader in the 9th, Abreu had his best season so far pitching the 7th inning.
He's a guy though and the reason I go year to year is, even if you take the mental side out of it, is relief pitching by its very nature is so volatile. If he drops a mile an hour or 2 on the fastball, what happens to him?
Yeah, he gets hit around pretty hard. Or it's right now with what it is same thing that happened to Lidge. If you can't throw that slider for a strike, I don't ever have to swing at it, and I can go after your fastball. And at this level, 98 while fast only works if you can play it off something. If all you've got is 98, they're going to crush that shit. And that's what happens. He can't throw that slider for a strike, so in the 9th inning, so he can't get any swing and misses with 2 strikes. He has to come across with the fastball to beat you, and he's getting beat.
Yeah, I mean, and so that's why I think that if there is a silver lining there, the silver lining is that he's revealed who he is, and hopefully we don't have to worry about any stupid Montero level extensions.
Bagwell will probably walk in while everybody's sleeping with a bag of money for him. All right, let's tip a cap, Scott. Who do you have for us this week?
So I had a tandem. Obviously, I put it down before Jason Alexander came up with his 7-inning gem this week. But to me, and I wrote an article that's going to land tomorrow with crawfish boxes. I don't know if you knew this, but Brown, in his first season, when he got that late call up in 21 innings. 21 innings. You know how many innings Blue Ball has right now?
21.
21 innings. Now, Blue Ball, the only difference is Blue Ball's given up 6 home runs in those 21 innings. Brown gave up 0 in his 21 innings. But otherwise, their numbers are almost identical across the board. And Hunter Brown, that was the gutsiest performance I think I've ever seen. Not his best performance, but the gutsiest. Because he's sitting there at about 90 pitches, after 5 innings, And I'm sitting there, I was texting you, it's like, okay, he just gave you 5 innings tonight. He goes out the 6th inning, it's his best inning. And to me, that was shades of Clemens, that was shades of Oswalt, that was shades of Verlander, of Cole, of him basically saying, you know, I didn't have my best stuff tonight, but in the last inning, nobody's touching me. And they needed that extra inning. They had to have, I mean, based on what Fromber had done and based on, what else had happened in the series. And then AJ Blueball in the Luis Garcia game, 3 2/3, absolutely brilliant innings. Absolutely brilliant innings. He walked that one guy because he had a 2-1 count. He came in. After that, he did not give up a hit, Tim. Those are 3 2/3 hitless innings. We had no hit the Blue Jays through 5 innings. So, I mean, that's gutsy performances. You talked about pop. Those are 2 guys, and Alexander, a 3rd guy, that have had pop. There just hadn't been too many other guys bringing it in addition to them.
No, I think Brown and Blue Bar are both worthy candidates. Like Brown really showed me something the other night where he demanded he come back out for the 6th that he shoved. That's, we talked on the show before about bleeding orange, right? And you want to build this team around guys who bleed orange. Like, to me, that's the moment that Hunter Brown showed me why you should be going to him with an extension this offseason, right? Like the stats and the numbers and all that stuff, they were already there. But knowing that this is the kind of guy that he is, he's the kind of guy that says, I want the ball and I'm going to go fucking shove. Those are the kind of guys I want on my team, and regardless of, say, how it worked out for like a Lance McCullers, his prime years, Lance shoved. Like, when you needed a big start from Lance took the ball and he went out and shoved in Chicago. And that's why we are in the position we are. But, on an expedited start, Lance shoved. And so, hey, I think that's a great one with Hunter Brown. I'm gonna do a personal hat tip again this week. My daughter Sawyer played her first ever softball game last night, and while it may not have gone the way she wanted to, I could not be more proud of how she handled the situation and how she bounced back and continued to contribute from a rough first inning. She's never played before. Didn't really want me teaching her much besides the fundamentals, so we're relying on the coach. Well, she starts at third base, Scott, and after a leadoff walk and a pass ball, there's a steal attempt coming her way, and she didn't know what steal attempts were, so she almost gets ear-holed with a throw down to third. She then gets moved to second base when the coach realizes it might not be safe to have her at third, and the very next pitch, ground ball right at her, gets past her. They get out of the inning after, giving up the league allowed 5 maximum runs. And lo and behold, Sawyer is hitting second. And my wife and I are shocked. Like, wow, okay. So she swings at 3 straight balls, and there's a pass ball. So she gets on first base after being yelled at by everybody in the stands to run. She gets the first on the pass ball strikeout. And then unfortunately got thrown out trying to steal third on a pass ball, because she didn't know that you were supposed to go. So, it was a lot of yelling, a lot of, confusing situations. You could tell she was really embarrassed and frustrated out there. But then she moved into center field and she made some really nice plays. Her second at bat was like a 5 or 6 pitch at bat where she, got called out on a very borderline call, but did not chase bad pitches that time, which I was so pleased with. And I was just so proud of her for not shutting down and rising to the moment and continuing to have fun, even when that first inning didn't go her way. So really, really proud of Sawyer for getting out there and playing a game that's new to her and just having fun doing it, even though it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows.
A little bit of fatherly advice here, Tim. You probably know that I was a varsity volleyball coach. So
I did, yeah.
So when Ann, decided to play volleyball, I made a decision very early on that I was going to be a dad and a fan first. And I, specifically did not want to coach her. And I think that's probably the best decision I've made because Ann's got a bit of a stubborn streak. So, anything you tell her, is just against, but I think I had a lot more fun watching her, and, hopefully she had more fun playing with us as fans than as me as her coach, griping at her.
Yeah, I kind of feel the opposite of that. It's been my dream to coach my kids for as long as I can remember. I actually signed up to be a coach in the league, but unfortunately, they didn't have enough teams to need a new coach, so they just left me on red and never called me back. But I believed for her to get where she needs to go, she needs a little bit of one-on-one time with dad in the batting cages. Because not to be full of myself, like I have literally had 18-hour bus rides with former and eventual Major League Baseball players. I've just been privileged. I literally have sat there and discussed hitting with Chris Bando, who was a Major League catcher, whose brother Sal Bando was a Major League All-Star.
Oh yeah.
So I've had access to information about the game of baseball that whoever this guy is that signed up to coach before I did doesn't, right? Like you have also been around the game. I appreciate that. You haven't been around the game at the level that I have. So people may think that's arrogant or whatever. There's someone who tried to question my opinion of the Astros coaching staff today, saying like, and so much, right? I'm like, well, yeah, I fucking do. I sat in a broadcast booth for 4 years. I rode the bus with former and future major leaguers. Like, yeah, I am fucking qualified to talk on this stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Scott. It's time for the big one. The scumbag of the week. Who do you have in your sights this week?
So this week I've got our Speaker of the House, U.S. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. So, not only does he, close down the session of Congress so that they can't vote on the discharge on the Epstein files, but, when it comes out that, the relationship, Trump was an FBI informant. So, okay. So let me get this straight. It was a hoax, but if it wasn't a hoax, then he was an informant. But you've heard people say that they thought that that Epstein was an intelligence asset. Have you heard those people say that?
Yeah, the ones that are on the list with them.
Well, what I'm picturing is, you ever see like those cop shows where you have this guy over here that's undercover for this agency and this guy over here that's undercover for the cops, and they're both trying to incriminate each other?
I feel like it's probably more like, do you remember in Reno 911 where they used to do like the prostitution things? And the one cop would like look like a real prostitute, right? Like she was hot. And then Trudy would have like Spanx and stuff on underneath. Like I feel like that's what we're like we're supposed to believe that these are the two undercover cops right now, and like Trump's out there as fucking bloomers and shit like that, trying to be like, I wasn't touching.
You imagine like Epstein and Trump were like, could you say that again into my chest right here?
Do you think obviously in tons of cop shows and movies, like the way to like test an undercover cop was like offer them cocaine, right? Because like they can't do the cocaine if they're actually cops. Like, do you think Trump abided by that same rule, or do you think he'd go fucking face first into that plate?
No, that's where the National Enquirer would say, like, how that Adderall habit came about? It was that right there.
I'm so curious, fucking curious.
It was that right there. He was. Have you ever seen where they did the treatment of the Marilyn Monroe death?
No, I haven't.
So their whole idea. So they had. So the whole idea was that the Kennedys killed her, and so they have Elvis bust in to protect her, and so they knocked him out and they said, here, give him these pills. And then, Bobby, don't do that, Jack. They might become addictive.
That's like in like Dewey Cox, where he's like, you don't want none of this, Dewey. He's like, this is marijuana. He's like, was it addictive? No, it's non-habit for me. Like, it sounds like it's pretty bad. No, it's actually not bad at all. But you don't want to do this. He's like, kind of sounds like I do.
I was just thinking that they said there, 2 half-truths equal to full truth. But, okay. But going back to Mike Johnson, here's my in holy Mike Johnson, big time Christian, has the accountability buddy, on his cell phone, his son. Of course, that reference, right, Tim?
Let's say that last part again. You broke up a little bit.
His accountability buddy.
Yeah.
But his son. But here's my thing. If Donald Trump tomorrow came out and said, I'm on every page of this fucking thing, I'm a pedophile, what would happen?
Sadly, nothing.
So why?
There will be some outcry, but still nothing.
Have you seen the last South Park episode?
The one where Towley goes to Washington?
No, there's another one. There's another one.
Then I need to see the new one then.
And so basically Fox News is sitting there talking about it.
Okay, no, I haven't seen that yet.
He's, fucking Satan. And they're excited that that everybody thinks he's Satan. If he came out and said, I did this, the narrative would, well, that's not that bad. It's not, the narrative would change. And so I don't understand. He's giving this more, and they're all giving this thing more oxygen than what it really needs, because they could easily turn around and go, look at all these other people that are in the files. Look, there's Democrats in there. Let's go after them. But instead, I can't let people see this.
Nobody's donors are in there too.
Nobody's going to give a shit. So basically you're coming out worse. And when you're sitting there going he's an FBI informant, come on, dude. Or when they had the birthday message, that's not his signature. Because Joe Biden went back in time with his auto pen in 2003. He went into DeLorean and he said, let me go sign this birthday card for him. And Barack Obama was with him and said, hey, can you falsify a birth certificate while we're here? That would be great. What are we doing? What are we doing?
It's again, I say this all the time. If this wasn't our real life, Sacha Baron Cohen would be perfect for this part. Literally, it is that ridiculous that we need the world's most ridiculous actor to play the role. Will Ferrell and Sacha Baron Cohen give you the White House. That literally is where we're at right now. All right, Scott. I am going to nominate Madison Crowder this week. Steven Crowder, not Madison. Steven Crowder, host of Louder with Crowder. You and I have purposely avoided commenting on the events of the shooting yesterday, and I'm going to continue to do that. But what I am going to comment on is Steven Crowder's response. Steven Crowder leaked falsified internal ATF documents that alleged the bullets had trans messaging on them. That leaked tweet was then used as a source by the Wall Street Journal and the New York fucking Times to spread an anti-trans agenda and to blame something on the trans community that we have no idea who the shooter is at this point. So to put that level of hate and misinformation out there already is disgusting. And to then have it picked up by two major news outlets without doing any other source checking besides just using Steven Crowder's tweet when he's a known propagandist and liar is even worse. Then he tweets out today that he's been subpoenaed by the ATF. He doesn't understand why. Leaking falsified internal ATF documents could possibly have federal authorities interested in him. I'm not going to comment on what happened at that university, but I am going to comment on the response to it. You can't use this to further your message of hate. This is, immediately there's a Republican senator saying that, Democrats are our problem and the left is going to kill everybody. And we have no information other than someone was assassinated at a rally or an event, and that is legitimately all we know. They've arrested and released 2 different suspects. We have no information besides that. But this group of people, and that's right-wing propagandists and podcasters, they know these crucial hours matter, and whatever narrative you put out right now will stick. It doesn't matter if you come back 2 days later and correct it or whatever. The narrative will stick. Alex Jones showed it with Sandy Hook. You question enough early on, no matter what, like you could mention the name Sandy Hook and there will be someone who goes, I don't know if that really happened. Even though like the fucking proof is everywhere, absolutely everywhere. But if you take those first 48 hours and you muddy the water enough, you will dilute the truth. And they know that they're doing that, and they do it anyway. And that's what makes them fucking pieces of shit and scumbags.
What I'll say on this is that I made a comment on my last Substack post, and I'll stand by that. And I feel very comfortable with my statements there. I think Tim and I both agree that political violence is bad in every case, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I got a new job with a media organization, and I am not going to be one of the people who was fired this week for commenting on that. But I think we're gonna wrap it up here this week. We don't have any Rue updates. We've been kind of trying just to get to the bottom of some pretty big questions that we had to float out there last week, Scott. So we'll be back with an update on our Rues next week, I think.
Yeah, we got boots on the ground, Tim. We're gonna find some stuff.
We're not stopping until we do find things, but we just, sometimes these things take a little bit of time. So we're investigating. We're overturning every stone. But until then, we will see everybody next week on Born on the Bayou Sports.